As we all know, Joe Weider was much like a second father to you, obviously helping you come here to America and putting you into magazines and obviously helping your career. There's a story that's been out for some time, and I've heard this before, but I'd like the audience to hear it if you'd like to share it with us. It also gets some truth to it. Is it true that you and your buddy Franco, on the eve of your contract expiring with Weider, actually devised a scheme to get Joe drunk and then kind of bring up the contract to him?
Franco and I, we did so many things with Joe. I mean, a book could be written on that. and it was really.
Would anybody buy a book if Arnold wrote it on all these stories?
But we loved Joe, and so it was kind of the father-son relationship, and we always had fun with him. I mean, it's not just about the contract, because Joe and Franco and I, we had kind of a relationship, the kind of relationship that I have with Jim Norman, where you really don't need to have a contract. In Joe's case, there was a contract because his lawyer said it's better to have a contract. But Joe didn't care about a contract. Joe knew that he wanted to help bodybuilders. Joe knew that he was in love with the sport of bodybuilding, and that he would do things for you if he asked him to. And besides that kind of a relationship, we had a really kind of a funny relationship, because Franco is a funny guy. So Franco would sometimes say to Joe, your mustache is wrong. And Joe would say, well, what do you mean my mustache is wrong, eh? And Joe would say, let me cut it, I am an expert in that. But Franco has never cut a mustache before. So Franco would just get the scissor out of the bathroom, and Joe would be over there for dinner, and he would start cutting his mustache. But of course it was a scissor that was totally dull, that didn't cut anything. And so all the beard was ripped off kind of like one by one, and Joe was screaming and sitting there. And we took pictures of that. He had tears coming down his eyes, because Franco would just say, there we are. He would cut, and then he would pull down, and then he would just pull out, the thing. And then Joe would just say, Franco, you're pulling my beard out. And Franco would say, look at Joe. And he would grab his hair on his forearm, Franco, and he would tear the hair out of his forearm, out of his own, and like nothing. And then he would go to his chest and says, look at this, and he pulled it out and says, oh, shaving is for sissies. He says, it's Sardinia. We are just pulling out the hair. It was kind of like the old-fashioned way of waxing, in a way, but without the wax. And so Joe was screaming there, and so it was things like that. Stupid things that we did. And I remember one time we were in New York, and Frank and I used the bedroom, and Joe said, I'm staying an extra night. And we said to Joe, knowing that he likes to save money, he says, why don't you take our room? It's totally clean. And we made the bed, it's all ready to go. I said, Joe, you would love it. It's a great bedroom. And Joe says, okay. And then he will go up, and then we would take off, fly to Europe for competition, and then Joe will go up. And then, of course, he held the money back for 2 weeks because the place was a disaster. Vitamin powder in the bed, and living yeast pills in the pillows. And, it was just a disastrous looking room. And he was so upset about that. So it was stupid things like that. But at the same time, we had a great time, and we did anything that he wanted us to do, to promote the magazine, to travel around the world. And so it was that kind of a relationship. I think that Joe was the most angry when I took a bodybuilder that was at Gold's Gym, and I talked this bodybuilder into oiling up. And then after he oiled up, I convinced him to put his sweatshirt back on, to keep the oil soaking in. And the reason was because the guy wanted to go and take photographs for Joe Weider, and he wanted to be on the cover of the magazine. And so we said, there's no problem, we're gonna take you over to Joe Weider's office and you will meet Joe Weider. That's our kind of gift to you. And so, but you got to be ready and oiled up. When Joe says rip off the shirt, there will be no time to go and say you have some oil and let me oil up first. He said, you gotta be ready. So he oiled up. He put his sweatshirt back on again. And we took him over to Joe Weider's office. And in the lobby there was a couch. A new couch that was suede. And Joe Weider was so proud. He always was proud of decorating and art and moving furniture around and buying antique furniture and stuff like that. And so we sat there on that couch. But of course, after half an hour sitting, the oil soaked through the sweatshirt into that suede couch. So Joe Weider came out of his big door and he said, oh, hi guys, hi, hey Arnold, what's up? Ah, look at the champion next to you. Look at the massive delta is. Wow. Thank you for bringing him over. And as he looked, as we got up, he looked over and saw the couch behind with a huge oil stain. And Joe Weider started screaming. His face changed from, oh, hi. Get out of here! And he was like screaming, and he chased us out of the office building. And he was so angry. He called me afterwards at 5 o'clock. I remember I got the phone call and he says, you bastard, why did you bring over these people? This guy was crazy. I said, what did he do wrong? And he said, he saw him all full of oil, he was dripping from oil. I said, well, I told him, I said, be ready when you say that, rip off the shirt. And he says, oh, you bastards, you're ruining my furniture and all this stuff. So when you ask about the relationship, that's the kind of relationship we had.